You're killing her, every day with every word you say. Those words hung in the air like shards of broken glass. Mark stood in the kitchen doorway, fists clenched so tight his knuckles had turned white. His wife, Sarah, sat at the table, head bowed as if trying to vanish into her own shadow. Outside it was an ordinary suburban evening, quiet, cozy, neighbors' windows glowing softly behind curtains. But inside their home, everything was crumbling. The fight had started over something trivial, as it always did. Sarah had forgotten to buy milk. Mark made a comment. She snapped back. He raised his voice. So did she. And suddenly it wasn't about milk anymore. It was about years of pent-up frustration, unspoken hurts, and exhaustion from a life they'd once built together but now merely endured. You don't even listen to what I'm saying, Sarah shouted, standing up. You only hear what you want to hear. Because you never say anything straight. It's all hints, accusations, silence. Mark shot back, pacing the kitchen. I'm not a mind reader, Sarah. And you're not a father, she blurted out. He froze. What did you just say? You're not a father, Mark. You're a roommate. You come home, eat, sleep, occasionally ask how Liza's doing, but you don't see her. You don't hear her. You don't feel her. Liza, their 10-year-old daughter, soft-spoken, with a habit of hiding her drawings under her pillow, had long learned to stay quiet when her parents fought. That's not fair, Mark whispered. I work to give you everything you need. We have everything except you, Sarah replied. Just then the doorbell rang, cutting through the tension. They both froze for a heartbeat, as if forgetting where they were. Mark went to answer it. His mother, Helen, stood on the porch, bag in hand, coat draped over her shoulders, eyes sharp but resolute. I heard you two were at it again, she began, leaving the rest unsaid. Mark stepped aside to let her in. Sarah didn't look up. Hi, Mom, he said flatly. Helen walked into the kitchen, set her bag on the table and took off her coat. You can't keep living like this, she said, looking at both of them. This isn't life. It's survival. We'll figure it out, Mom, Mark replied, though his voice lacked conviction. No, you won't. Because neither of you wants to truly listen, you just want to be right. Sarah finally lifted her head. So, Helen, did you come to help or to judge? To remind you who you are. Silence. Helen sat across from Sarah. Do you remember the first time we met? You came to my door with a bouquet of wildflowers and said, I want to be part of your family. And I thought, this girl is too kind for my stubborn son. But you stayed. Even when he disappeared on business trips for weeks. Even when he forgot your anniversaries, you stayed. Sarah said nothing, but her eyes glistened. And you, Mark, Helen turned to her son. Remember calling me at 3 in the morning when Liza was born? You were crying. You said, Mom, I'll never be the same again. And I believed you. Mark looked down. We're just so tired, Mom, he whispered. Tiredness isn't an excuse for cruelty, Helen said. You both know this isn't the end. It's just a hard turn. But if you don't stop now, you'll lose each other, and Liza too. At that moment, the hallway door creaked open. Liza stood there in her pajamas, clutching a stuffed rabbit. Were you yelling again? She asked quietly. Sarah jumped up and rushed to her. No, sweetheart. We were just talking loudly. I heard you, Liza said. I get scared when you yell. Mark knelt down. I'm sorry, Liza. We won't do it anymore. Promise. We promise, Sarah said, hugging her tightly. Helen watched them, pain in her eyes, not just for them but for herself too. She'd walked this path once. Sometimes, she said, the loudest fights come from the deepest love, because you mean too much to each other to stay silent. But if you don't learn to speak without shouting, that love will disappear. She stood, picked up her bag. I'm leaving, but I'll be back tomorrow. And I expect to see you at the same table. No grudges. No blame. Just together. When the door closed, silence filled the house. Mark and Sarah looked at each other. I'm sorry, Sarah said. No, forgive me, he replied. They didn't embrace. Didn't kiss. But they sat at the table together for the first time in a long while. Liza brought them mugs of hot chocolate, just like she used to as a little girl. I drew you, she said, handing them a sheet of paper. In the drawing they held hands. Cracks ran beneath their feet, but the sun shone above their heads. We'll do better, Mark promised. And in that moment he truly believed it. The next day Helen returned. All three sat at the table eating breakfast, speaking softly but without tension. You did well, she said, pouring herself coffee. We're just starting, Sarah replied. Sometimes that's enough. But conflicts don't vanish overnight. A week later, Mark forgot to pick Liza up from school again. Sarah didn't yell. She simply got in the car and went herself. When she came back, she said, You promised. I know. I'm sorry. I don't need apologies. I need you to think of us. He nodded. I will. And this time he did. Family conflicts aren't always dramatic scenes with shattered dishes and tears. More often they're a slow erosion. Words left unsaid. Gestures never made, moments missed. Parents aren't perfect. They get tired, make mistakes, lose patience. But deep in their hearts, the love that once built their family still lives. Sometimes to reclaim it, you just need to stop. Look at each other. Remember why you started this journey together. 2 months passed. Fights still happened, but now they ended in conversation. Sometimes in silence, but no longer cold, just thoughtful. Liza stopped hiding her drawings. She started pinning them to the fridge with bright markers. One showed a house. In the windows, 3 silhouettes. The caption read, We're a team. Mark took a photo of it and set it as his desktop background at work. What's that? A colleague asked. A reminder, Mark replied. One evening, Sarah said, I want to go to the ocean, like in our first year of marriage. Mark was surprised. Right now? No. This weekend. All of us. What about work? It can wait. He looked at her and saw the girl with wildflowers again. Okay, he said. Let's go. On the drive, Liza slept in the back seat. Sarah sat beside Mark, her hand resting on his knee. Remember when we swam at night back then? She asked. Yeah, you were scared of jellyfish. And you laughed at me. But I still held your hand. She smiled. Hold it now too. He squeezed her fingers. The beach was empty, just waves and stars. Liza ran through the surf, laughing. We made it, Sarah said. Not all the way, Mark replied. But we're heading in the right direction. Sometimes that's enough. They stood side by side watching the ocean. No resentment. No blame. Just quiet and hope. Because family isn't the absence of conflict. It's the choice to stay together despite it. And in that choice lies the whole truth of love.